Welcome to Business Talk, our weekly University of Rio Grande, Ohio State University South Center's podcast show. We are here at the University of Rio Grande TV studio. Not only are we doing live internet radio through Blog Talk Radio, but we're also live on the Jackson Educational Access Channel and Channel 17 University of Rio Grande TV. Our podcasts are archived and placed on YouTube for viewing and listening again. Our mission is simple: to promote the University of Rio Grande and its diverse educational programs, promote the Ohio State University South Centers and its many business technology programs, promote small business and its support organizations, and finally promote Southern Ohio, a great place to live, learn, and enjoy life to the fullest. Co-hosts here on my left are Jason Winters, Director of the Center for Small Business Entrepreneurship, and in front of me is Mike Thompson, Instructional Design and Media Services Director, both with the University of Rio Grande. We also have Patrick Dengel, Business Development Specialist, and Kimberly Roush, Program Assistant, both with the Ohio State University South Centers. And we have myself, MBA student Nate Walzer as co-host, and Justin behind the cameras. This week we'll be featuring Sam McKibbon, Radio Personality and News Director with WNXT Portsmouth. Hi, Sam.
Well, good afternoon, Nate. Good to talk to you. How you doing today?
Good. How are you? It's great having you on the show.
I'm just fine. We got a beautiful day down here in Southern Ohio, northern Kentucky, and just enjoying these last few days of summer.
Yeah. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself before we begin?
Oh, certainly. Again, welcome to the audience. Glad to be with you today. I think I've done this once before. I think about a year ago. Pat asked me to, and I said I'd be glad to. I teach as an adjunct at our local university on occasion. I haven't taught in a couple of years now, but I do enjoy teaching the news writing reporting course down there. It's kind of an introduction to a journalism minor and also sports management, some of the other management the majors, I should say, down here at Shawnee State. I call for one to at least be proficient in writing and presenting news articles, and we enjoy doing that to the audience, both those who go into print broadcast or into, of course, broadcast news, I should say, and into print as well. Basically, I started the business in Louisiana years and years ago. I was in a town called Lake Charles. I was in the Air Force then, and got started briefly as a part-time air personality, disc jockey as they used to call them, and one thing evolved from there. I came back to Ohio. I worked in a number of radio markets around the Midwest, Columbus, Huntington, West Virginia, Lima, Ohio, Athens, Ohio. Well, I went to school at High University and got my degree there. Later on worked at OSU Radio, AM, FM, and TV in Columbus, and that was about the same time I worked on a master's degree there at Ohio State. And so I've enjoyed this business, got into it as a very young man, as a lot of us did in those days, some as young as 13 or 14. I was about 19, so I was a little older. But
you know,
enjoy
Sam,
doing the news and enjoy presenting the news on 3 radio stations. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I just want to let you know that even though you have had over 40 years experience in the radio and the TV, and Mike has had, what, 20 years plus? In the video and radio, I have you both beat. I have been listening to the radio for 62 years.
Oh, my goodness sake, yeah. Now, you helped invent radio, didn't you, Pat?
Been around long enough.
I think, weren't you a personal friend of Mr. Marconi? I think I've heard you say that, or maybe you
my
denied
son?
that. Maybe that's the way it goes, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Hey, it's great having you here.
Yeah.
Jason still quotes you now and then.
Really? Oh my gosh! I wish I'd told him better jokes.
So that's what he quoted you on.
I see. Okay.
I wish he told better jokes, but that'll be the
indeed.
second part of the show.
Well, all right. Joking aside, Sam, why don't you share with us a little bit?
Yeah.
Why don't you share with us a little bit how the radio market has changed over the years?
Yeah, that's a good question. I notice we see podcasts like this going on at different places. We do them down at Shawnee State on occasion. A lot of it has gone into the high-tech field. I know we have students from Shawnee work for us as part-timers, and the one young lady's in education, and she brought me in her Kindle the other day, and of course the iPhones and the iPads and things like that. And of course we do things with in a much smaller regimen too. Of course, we have the digital tape recorders, which are much smaller than the one I used to carry on my back at WIMA in Lima back in 1972. So things that do get miniaturized, and I guess that's all for the good. But the business is changing. Any good business, any bad business will change and evolve over the years, and must by the nature of the beast. It must change to keep up with the times. We don't do things like we used to. We don't type news stories anymore on a typewriter. I went from a manual typewriter in 1985 into the world of cyber tech and cyberspace in 1985. That was with the Navy when I went back in as a public affairs officer with Navy recruiting, and I had to, it was a learning curve for me, and it's going to be for everybody else too. And who knows, in 2012 we do things a certain way. In 2025 or certainly in the 22nd century, we're going to do things totally different, and it'll be a lot more. Probably in Mike's field, a lot more high tech than it is now, and it's gotten real high tech just in the last few years.
Is there any advances that you see coming in the near future for radio?
I think we're going to have to start, doing more with less. We have fewer people. We run 3 radio stations with about a dozen people. A few part-timers in addition to that, but basically full-time we have about 12 people to run 1 AM station, 2 FM stations. Now we do a lot of news with just 2 people. I have a lady comes in the morning. She does the early morning shift from 5 to 8. I come in at 8 o'clock and do the rest of the day, and I'll be here till around 6 or 7 this evening. And we update the news at least twice a day, and if not 3 times. And of course that also includes the weather, sports news. Thankfully, I don't have to do that anymore. I've done my share of play-by-play, and I just, I let some of the younger guys take that. But there's always phone calls to make, to answer. Trying to get in touch with a U.S. Senator today about a story that I've been chasing around all day. The A plant there at Piketon is always a good source for news. We have, of course, the election campaigns going on. That's crazy time. Had the vice president in town here a couple Sundays ago, and he drew a good crowd. And of course, you have to cover those things. Normally, I'm off on Sunday, but that particular Sunday was a working day. So you just have to go where the news is, and we tell them, we told them, and then tell them again.
How do you keep a broadcast station viable with all the other distractions that people have, whether it be their iPods or their satellite radio in their car, or everybody has their own thing that they want to listen to, and I think somewhat it's kind of sad that we don't all listen to the radio, because it used to be the generations were all on the same page, because we all listened to the same top 40 and everything.
Sure, yeah. I've had other broadcasters, and I've had journalism professors at Ohio State and Ohio University tell me the same thing, and they told me, in some cases they told me 40 years ago how things were going to change. I wasn't really sure I believed them then, but they were spot on, because it has changed, and there are so many distractions, as you say, because people have the XM Sirius satellite radio. I've got one in my car. I don't use it very much, but it's in there, and it came with the car, so I kept it, and it's not that much of a price to keep it going. But with television, the internet, cable, and everything you can do everything on your iPad or your iPhone except make coffee. I'm not really sure that they won't be coming up with that pretty soon.
I'm sure there's an app for that.
I'm sure there is.
Hey, you got Pandora.
Yeah, but I'm going to a conference next month up at the Ohio State Bar Association, and they promise us some gee whiz things up there to kind of delight and amaze us. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I go to that every year, and sometimes I'm a presenter, and sometimes I'm just there as a very interested guest. But I have a lot of my friends are attorneys. My dad was an attorney, and I probably do more legally oriented stories or legal oriented stories than anybody else, or than most people do, because I have a very strong interest in the law, especially broadcast law. And of course, that's what keeps us on the air through the auspices and the good graces of the FCC.
Do you think your audience for broadcast radio, especially AM, is aging?
Yes, no doubt. Our demographics say probably the AM station at 1260 AM, 5,000 red hot watts is probably 35 up to death. And we have a lot of people. We have listeners in their 90s that still call us, and say they're listening out there. And I said, how long have you listened to WNXT? I said, how long have you been on the air? I said, 62 years. So we've heard every day, radio every day for that many years. It's amazing. So I guess small town, it's a generational thing, certainly, that people have gone to other sources of entertainment, whether it's just go home and kick off your shoes and turn on the boob tube and watch it until you fall asleep or leave it on all night. I must admit, on weekends, sometimes I do that myself, but through the week, I'm pretty well loyal to the radio. And of course, I listen to other stations too. We're in a declining radio market here as far as numbers. WPAY went off the air about a year and a half ago, and that took AM 1400 and also FM 104.1.
Yeah, they were 50,000. They were 100,000.
They were 100 kW. Yeah. PAY FM. They bought the station. Excuse me. Pardon me. Northern Kentucky University, WNKU, bought the station, changed the call letters to WNKE, and they wanted a presence down here in extreme southern Ohio and also into West Virginia. And so they still run that. The AM station just went dark. So that audience a lot of that audience has come to us, and of course we feel the obligation to serve them as well. We don't. They play country music. We don't play country music, but we do a lot of news and everything else they did. We do over here as well, and I think we do it just as well, or if not better.
Well, you think that's the main draw for a local station is local news? And if you didn't have that and you were playing music, then why listen to it?
Yeah. That's why we start at 5 o'clock with fresh news, and then we're freshening it up on the FM stations and also the AM station all during the day. And I wish we had a weekend news person. It's basically just me. I come into work Saturday, prepare the news, and I come in Sunday to see if everything's running okay. I don't do a lot on Sunday because everybody needs a day off, and after that I go home around noon on Sunday and I hide till Monday morning.
Do you have most of that
they know where to find me.
Most of the time on these stations, is that running on automation?
Yes. Yeah, we probably couldn't operate without automation. I'm sitting here in one of the studios now where normally you would have somebody on the air playing CDs or more likely on the satellite. We've had it for several years now. In fact, I think we signed on with the satellite in 2003 here on the Breeze, WZZZ FM. And we couldn't do it otherwise. You couldn't run 3 radio stations with live announcers. You couldn't run one with 12 people. You'd have to have probably at least 20. And PAY, when I went there after I left Lima in 1973, I was there 11 years as news director for WPAY, AM and FM. We had 27 employees. It's hard to think back now that 2 stations had that many employees here in town, because that's yesteryear radio. It just you don't see that anymore. And Clear Channel radio, some of the other large broadcast entrepreneurs. I refer to Clear Channel. I don't think anybody's real crazy about them, but they're all around us. They don't own us, but they own stations in Chillicothe and Ironton and other places around Ohio. But their first thing they do usually is come in and really start cutting, and that's just too bad. It's more's the pity, because it does demean the product, I think, and I think it doesn't help your audience at all.
Well, Sam, I know a radio station can't exist without advertising dollars, and
right.
In the economy that we're living in, money is tight in a lot of small businesses, and a lot of small businesses, have asked me the question: how do radio stations verify those numbers that they give us? It says, they have 60,000 listeners. How do they know that?
Well, there are rating services. There's Arbitron and Trendex, and they do, of course, radio and television. We do not subscribe to them because they really don't serve the Portsmouth market. We're part of the Huntington ADI, basically, which covers Huntington, Ashland, Ironton. We would be, of course, on the western fringe of that market, and so we show up in their ratings. And we, of course, you have to pay for that service to be able to legitimately use it. I mean, you can look at them and say, well, we're showing up well in here, and we do usually. Even Huntington, West Virginia, and Ashland, Ironton, we still have listeners, especially on the FM stations, because they carry up there, quite well. But as far as telling the listener, we have X number of thousands or even hundreds of listeners in a time frame, we're not going to tell them that. We're just going to say, we put a good product on the air. If you want to reach advertisers, and I think we try to narrowcast our advertising and to broadcast it to people who are interested in a certain product, whether it's new cars, used cars, whether it's La Rosa's Pizza. Not to use a name there, but just one that just came in here recently a year or so ago. If you're selling pizzas, if you're selling chicken dinners, one of my good advertisers is the Railroad Historical Society out of Huntington. That's kind of a very, that's a rather narrow gauge, you might say, to use a railroad term, of audience, but they advertise with us because people listen, and as you just mentioned, the AM audience is an older audience, more likely to buy a ticket on an excursion train than, say, somebody who is 18 years old. So you have to know your audience.
What would you have to say? We have a School of Communications here, and what would you say to someone that was wanting to get into broadcasting? Would you tell them to go into radio, television? What do you think their future would be?
I would say get the education you need. It's almost like, to me, the bachelor's degree or the master's degree is almost like a bachelor's now, as far as the prestige of it and how people are going to school now. Whether the online way of doing that has changed all that. I suspect it has to a certain extent. I'd say if you're interested in print itself, print journalism, then go that route. I would get experience in all of them if you're not really sure. If you want to become a reporter, then obviously get your degree. If you're going to become a broadcast news person, you don't necessarily have to have a degree, but I think it's a nice thing to have, and it may, if it gives you an edge, then it certainly is worthwhile. The first job I got as a news director, they really hired me because I had a degree in journalism from Ohio University, and was working on a master's at the time, and so it's something that got me a job. I think whether bachelor's or master's or even beyond that, it's almost like having a union card, because you're going to have a better chance, I think, than say some other guy or gal who is maybe equally qualified otherwise, as far as temperament, personality, age-wise. You can't discriminate because of age, but there certainly are a lot of factors considered. If you just present yourself very well, and you say, oh, by the way, I have the bachelor's, the BA or probably BSc in communications from, say, from Rio Grande, and here's what I can offer. Here's what I bring to the table. And to me,
I guess
just give yourself a little edge up.
My question was more probably what would be the job market or the outlook.
Job market right now is kind of fluid, I would say. If you want to get into broadcast news, it's not a bad idea. I would certainly, if you're still in school, certainly use your resources, because there should be internships available. There should be some part-time jobs available. I know I had to knock on a lot of doors 40 years ago to get my foot in the door, even down in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and I just made a pest out of myself. I don't guarantee that's the best way to do it, but it worked for me. But certainly, if you're interested in becoming a broadcast newsman, almost now, I would say if you look good on the air, if you have a good presence about you, and you're not a shrinking violet, because those people don't last long in our business. Television might be the best way to go, because television is beginning to cut back on personnel, as you probably already know. But not nearly as stringent as radio, because we can do a lot of things in radio just with automation. And you'll find sometimes some stations have very few people running, a radio station or two. In our case, it's a dozen running three.
Don't you, Sam? Don't you find also that just getting on the radio is not enough? That you have to be actively involved with your advertisers and customers?
Oh yeah. Yeah, Oh, since I came back here in 1998, after I retired from the Navy, I've been selling advertising for really most of the stations I've worked for, at least here in Portsmouth, because you're known where you come from. You know, as they say, old saying goes, they've seen you in your underwear, so they know what you look like, and pretty much what you do, and you just you know, to me, I go into a potential advertiser. Now we're doing a lot of that with political advertising. I was over there yesterday at the fellow who's running for an office here, and you know, everybody in the place knew me when I walked in, and as a result, I got the business. Now, whether that would have happened if I hadn't been known there, I don't think it would have. I have an idea that probably said, well, you know, we hear him on the air. He does a nice job. We think he'll do a nice presentation for us on the advertising. Now, I probably won't do the commercial because, you know, that's not something I do. They'd rather keep me impartial as far as the air work is concerned. But I can put on another hat as an advertiser, or an advertising salesman, I should say, and I do that a lot during the year because it does bring in extra income.
So, Sam, do I hear you saying that it would be a good idea for a communications major to have a minor in marketing?
Wouldn't be a bad idea at all. Yeah. The old saying goes, you know, with our advertisers, you know, when you represent somebody, first of all, you're going in to see that person or that company, whether it's a manager or a marketing manager, a sales manager. We're working with a new auto dealer here in town now. And I go in there and basically I start talking about cars. Learn as much as you can about the product that person has to sell, whether it's hardware, whether it's hamburgers, whether it's new and used cars, whether it's RVs, if it's pools. If he's a pool dealer, that is swimming pools, then you know, find out everything you can in advance, or just read everything you can about. Try to get some information. The library is a great source for that. The more you go in there, you tell a fellow when you go in there, you know, hey, you know. He said, well, what do you know about, about fertilizer? And he said, well, you know, really, I've been reading about it, how it's changing, how the chemical composition. You start talking about things like that, and, you know, you pretty well have an audience, at least for a while. Now, you get their attention with that. After that, then it's your personality that sells them or doesn't sell them, one or the other. And sometimes the chemistry's there, sometimes it's not. But, yeah, marketing minor would be an excellent idea. The long way around to finish and answer your question there.
Well, Sam, I understand. Being a goat farmer, I totally understand about fertilizer, and it is important to know these things.
For other students who are out there
I've certainly spread a lot of it in my career. I'm sorry.
Sam, for students who are out there who are interested in going into broadcasting, when they go to school, is it better for them to go into journalism or communications, or is there some sort of broadcasting degree they go for, or what would your recommendation be for an approach to go into broadcasting?
Certainly, a degree in journalism is a good idea. A degree, as you just mentioned, I got to thinking about it while you were talking there. A degree really in marketing, it would be an excellent, excellent degree to have. I've got a minor in history because I love history. And if I go in and talk to an advertiser and we start talking about maybe local history, you know, maybe the history of the 1937 flood, and all of a sudden I'm talking to somebody and we're equal mind as far as going back in local history. And then I start talking about the first radio station in Portsmouth that started during the 1937 flood and actually broadcast from a building on the second floor in downtown Portsmouth. And all of a sudden, you know, you're talking to him and one thing and another, you've established a rapport with that person, and especially if he doesn't know you or he just knows of you because of your name and because of your position, then all of a sudden you've established a relationship with him, and 9 times out of 10 for me that develops a sale. But basically that's the way I do it. Now, whether that's the ideal way to do, whether a marketing professor would tell you that was a good idea or not, it works for me.
So what do you think of broadcasting during the 1937 flood?
As far as what the way it happened was, that's what really established WPAY's radio station here in town. Because before that, they were signed on the air at 35, and hardly anybody knew about them. They were 1,000 watts, an AM radio station, didn't care very far, and this put them on the air and put them on the map basically in 1937 in January. They were on the air about a year and a half, and it had people listening because they were the only source of communication. They could tell people that Mrs. Brown just had her baby, and she and the baby are doing fine, or they found Mr. Smith, and he didn't drown after all, and things like that.
Basically,
point communication.
Basically, everything that everybody uses their cell phone today for updates is
there. You go. That's where
AM
that's
radio.
Where the whole that's where we've had some generational changes there, and that's where things have advanced into the 21st century. And they're not here. They're here to stay. You're not going to get rid of cell phones, or people are still going to text probably where they drive. It's illegal now, but they're still going to do it. And
do you guys also, besides broadcasting over the air, do you stream your signal?
Put it on the internet.
Yeah, we at WNXTradio.com. That's WNXT FM. Yeah, that's amazing how you get calls. We've had calls from Iwo Jima, from military members, Florida, South Carolina, California. Of course, the World Wide Web goes everywhere.
Can you track the use of that? Is that used very much?
Yeah, our program director does generally. I think he keeps kind of a log of how many calls we get a day. Certainly, if it's a long distance call somewhere, or somebody wants to get in touch, I guess we still kind of act as a clearinghouse with that, because sometimes somebody will call and say, hey, so and so, something happened to them, or hopefully good, or maybe something not so good, and this is what we'd like to communicate.
Oh, I meant
they're on Twitter and Facebook.
I meant how many people actually listen to your station on the web?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know if they've actually ever taken the time to track that or not. How they would do it, that's beyond my expertise. But we do a program on Saturday morning called Saturday Morning Sports Line, and that is streamed. The audio is streamed on WNXT FM from 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock.
Huh.
And we also usually stream if it's a very important football or basketball game. We do the same thing with the FM, either 107.5 or WNXT FM. Mainly, it's on 99.3. That's NXT FM, and we put that on the internet.
Sam, we have just about 1 or 2 more minutes, and I, knowing you prepared for about 4 or 5 hours.
Oh, I'm a chatterbox, I'll tell you.
Just out of curiosity, what do you think businesses should know about the media? Not just radio, but if you were a small business and there's many media out there wanting to sell advertisement, some words of wisdom from you. What should businesses know about media?
Well, they need to consider all forms of advertising. We're working with some politicians now on advertising, on running for office. As we say downtown, people running from the courthouse to the White House, and they get the low rate on the political rate card. That's the lowest rate in any particular segment of our broadcast day, 24/7. And basically, I was giving some advice yesterday to a candidate, and I was telling him exactly that. And he would say, "Well, how much is the advertising?" I said, "Well, you get this rate for this particular time frame,
90 seconds.
It's a little lower during the midday, because your rate depends on your audience, and the audience that we're pretty sure we have. We kind of do it the old-fashioned way as far as the morning audience on the FM station, especially on the Mix 99.3, because that audience there's some call-in shows there, and they burn up our fax machine, and we get a lot of emails from them as well. And that way, we pretty well can track how many people are listening in the morning.
60 seconds.
And we have people call us in and tell us where the state patrol or city police or the sheriff's department has a traffic cop out there looking for people who are in a hurry and running too fast through the fog or something, like they did this morning. But it's basically just telling people that our audience is broad, our audience is varied. And it's if you want to reach the most people with the most bang for the buck, then we think WNXT, AM, FM, and the Breeze 107.5 are the best stations for you. And in a way, we can say that because technically we're the only stations down here. So we almost have to be not only the only ones, but also the best. If you're the only ones there, you almost have to be the best.
Well,
10
well,
seconds.
Sam, we want to thank you very much for
Sure.
coming back on our show. We were hoping to see you face to face next time.
Yeah, well, that's right. I'll be a next-time buyer. I wish I could have been there, but this political season down here, and as I say, sales, and I think I've got a couple of news stories waiting for me to write here to get on the air, and then sometimes somewhere get home tonight so I can actually enjoy dinner with my wife if she's still speaking to me when I get home.
Well, she's a real nice person, so
Yes, yes, she is.
so. Sam,
Yes.
again, thank you very much for taking your time, and look forward to eating lunch with you again sometime very soon.
Okay, next time it's my turn to buy.
Maybe we'll come.
Okay.
Hey, and
Somebody told me the other day, he said, you don't have very good lunch spots down there, do you? And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, there's no place for gourmets to go. I said, you mean like White Castle? They said, exactly. So that's the kind of audience we have down here.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate the time, and everybody stay healthy, and we'll talk to you again sometime.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.
I'm Patrick.
Thank you very much.
Mike, and thanks for watching.